So this is Flavia for Chaoszine, and today I'm speaking with Matias Monsen of the Norwegian trio Drott. Right. So how's
Hello.
it going, Matias?
Enjoying the Easter holiday and being left alone by my two other band members, going away on the big US tour, and our drummer is currently, I think, skiing somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Enslaved just started. They started to this week, right? Tomorrow or something.
They left
Yeah.
today, so they're probably over the Atlantic Ocean right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So all three of you are established musicians, but Drott is a relatively new project, right? Your first
Yeah.
release was in 2021. So how did it all begin for Drott?
Well, Arve Isdal and Ivar and me, we agreed on starting a trio many years ago. Well, maybe as long back as in like 2015 or something, but we never met. We never tried out playing together until January 20, when we started meeting and just jamming. And then the famous lockdown took place, and we had suddenly a lot more time on our hands to meet. So we met regularly, just jamming and recording for hours each time we met, and we realized after a while that, okay, maybe we should try to record some of our jam sessions. Yeah, so we did our first EP, but also at the same time we started recording our first full-length Orcus, and also some of our early ideas are actually in our newest album, Troll, which is coming now in May.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that because both the self-titled EP and Orcus, your first full length, were released within a very short interval, which is kind of unusual, nowadays, especially, everybody's so busy all the time. So, yeah, what is your secret in order to be so prolific? You just said you were already working on things for this album that is coming out in May. So how is that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like the kind of creative flow we quite early got into when we started playing together. A lot of ideas just came dropping down, and we also we rehearsed in our rehearsal apartment or studio, as well as doing recording sessions in a more proper studio. So yeah, it's just a natural flow, actually.
Yeah, that's cool. So Drott sound is very interesting. It's an interesting mix of many different elements, right? So what are your influences and how would you define your sound? Because I myself cannot define it.
Yeah, we tried like previous when Orcus, or previous album, came out, just trying to find like a term or a genre, kind of, but we have three quite different backgrounds musically. Our drummer is like actually a jazz drummer, but also doing a lot of different genres. He's band Ulvær, which is quite far from maybe the jazz genre, and also he does a lot of hip hop, and Arve, of course, with his background from metal music. And then me from the more, well, classical, but also doing a lot of pop productions earlier. We combine probably our favorite landscapes and riffs and grooves, and then it becomes the sound of Drott.
Yeah.
So it's probably a progressive world metal kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, but it's much more than that, I think, because it has a classical feel to it, because this is what makes it so different from prog as I see it.
Yeah,
You know, and the cello is a big part of that, of course, because it brings a depth and a warmth to the sound, because the sound of the cello is really warm, right?
yeah.
It's a really cool thing, and it's new. It makes it new. It makes it interesting.
That's nice to hear. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, imagine, no problem. It's true. So your visual identity is also very unique, not just the sound of your band, but you have a visual identity. So the band logo is like a helmet with a winged creature or
Yeah.
something. It's something I cannot define, but it's really cool. It's really cool looking. And also the masks that your guy wore on the video and some of the pictures that I've seen. So can you elaborate a little bit on that whole visual thing that you guys have?
Kind of, we feel that the music is sort of touching a kind of hidden world, and that's why we try to stay a bit hidden as persons in this concept. So that's why we ended up so far trying to be a bit well, anonymous, maybe. Yeah, it gives, so these masks reminds me of this Stanley Kubrick movie, the Eyes Wide Shut, you know, with a hidden.
Yeah.
Not that we relate to that society, but yeah, the old Venetian carnivals and
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, and but the long beaks on the masks,
Yeah,
it also reminded me of like the old school medieval doctors. And you guys started out in the beginning of the pandemic, and but it's not related.
yeah, that was intended.
I was intended. Okay, yeah, because I immediately my brain immediately went to that. Yeah, so Drott's upcoming album, Troll, will be released on May 19th, right, via by Norse. It sounds different from your previous releases, except
Yeah.
I would say for the song The Marauders, which is from Orcus. So what made you take this direction, darker, almost like a horror movie soundtrack?
It's kind of sonically landscape that developed during our first recordings, with a lot of effects on the cello. I use pedals and kind of make layers with delays and reverb, and we kind of build on that, just doing track after track recording, and realize that, wow, this is something we can use as sort of like a landscape in our songs. So, but also on Troll, we are probably more riff orientated, and the songs have a more tight structure than on the earlier ones, like our EP that is purely jam sessions that has been re-recorded. So the songs are, yeah, more form based on our new album.
Yeah, so with Orcus, you told the story of a catabasis, which is like a descent into hell or into the underworld. There's even a song called Catabasis, right? So with a more Mediterranean-based mythological idea. Right. So now you take us listeners on a journey through troll mythology, like Norse mythology. So how do you come up with such great concepts?
Well, I think for all the three of us, we as Norwegians, we have always been told stories and fairy tales about trolls, especially in all of the Norwegian fairy tales. They're part of school. What's the word? Curriculum from early age, and it's we find it interesting to sort of try to look behind the modern, or what can you say, the national romantic version of what's the word paranormal in the Norse mythology. This is not only Norwegian, of course, it's crossing borders, but it's kind of trying to find the early definition or meaning of the troll concept. Not thinking about trolls as creatures, but more like a phenomenon regarding well, magic, actually, in old Norwegian mythology. So it's quite interesting, during especially the late medieval age, we started to use the German word hex, which is witch, for both men and women that people thought had contact with the supernatural and spirits and magic. So the true meaning of troll is actually just magic, and the Norwegian word for sorcerer is troll man. So and we also mention an ancient creature in one of our songs, Fornjot, which is part of a bit exotic and hidden mythology in Scandinavia. He's seen as the father of the North, and the father of the creatures in the mythology. What's the word? Norse mythology, you know, with Odin and Thor and all the ancient gods of the North, and also some sources say that he is like the father of the first Norwegian kings in the Viking Age. So we find it fascinating, and want to try to break free from the more modern stereotypes of the troll phenomenon.
Yeah, and the troll is connected to the stones, right? And there's a lot of I've read about lots of stones in Norway that have names that troll this, troll that, right? So in a way, they're like very chthonic, not deities but creatures, right? And this and it's really funny that you guys chose to do a first album about the underworld and the second album about the earth, right? It's about it's really cool. And this and especially the terminology that you use on the first album, Orcus, because I'm not that familiar with the Norse mythology as I am with the Mediterranean. But you guys have songs called Cathabasis, Psychopomp, and this is really cool. You know, it's like you are true students of mythology, and
Yeah.
you use like these scholarly
Try to
words
be,
for your
yeah.
songs. It's really brilliant, and it
Oh.
got me really interested in your soundscape.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we find it interesting, like in Orcus also, trying to find themes for our songs that verbally is universal. So a lot of the Mediterranean, of course, like when we go back to ancient Greece but also Italy, you have all these different names. Yeah, Orcus is like more a Etruscan kind of definition of the underworld and the demon of the underworld, while you in Greece have Hades, isn't it?
Yes, and volcano and
yeah,
Rome,
yeah. And also the psychopomp track. We also have psychopomps in the Norse mythology, you know, with the Valkyria, when Vikings died gloriously in battle. They were that was the only way to get like that the portals to the afterlife opens and you get to heaven or Valhalla or whatever. Yeah, so the Valkyrie, they fly on their horses and pick up the fallen warriors. But like in Orcus, it's we think more of like the ferryman, the psychopomp in Orpheus. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, it shows how universal these themes are, which is amazing, right? So Troll has a creepy sound, but with a fair share of humor. It's an album that put a smile on my face as I was listening to it. So it's also very visual in the same way that the music of Claude Debussy is visual, for instance. Right? Yeah. So like the first two songs, it's like, especially the second track, Alting. That's the title of it. I don't know if I said it right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, perfect.
So it's like there's something lurking. You can't quite see it, but it's lurking and it's slowly moving and puffing, right? So it was very visual to me. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Something that wakes up.
Yes, exactly. Something that's still slow. It's still trying to start. Yeah, it's really cool.
We wanted the cover of the album as well as to represent this. It's this ancient dormant forest or force kind of waking up, and we wanted to like musically describe it as well in the opening.
That's really cool. Yeah. So how does one write music like that?
We just yeah.
Tricky question.
Of course, we play a lot together and develop ideas, but also, of course, we like to sit separately and bring ideas to the table. And Drott is it's a democracy, but also we are sort of communists in the way that we bring what we have to the table, and then we make it work together the best we can. So of course a lot of our ideas where the guitar is the kind of the focus instrument or the lead, our ideas made from Arve's late night sessions, and we share tracks with each other, working on them separately, and then combine them. But in the studio process, we always focus on performing live as a trio, laying like a skeleton or a core in our songs or projects, and then arranging them further. Yeah, so it's only the three instruments present in everything we have done so far. So just making layers and changing roles. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it gets to a fantastic and very deep sound. So let's dig a little deeper into one of the songs of Troll. So it's a Vulcanat, the first single of the album. It's already been released. Everyone can hear it. So it has vocals by Christian Espedal. So at first, they're brilliant. So at first it's harsh and dark, but then they're clean and bright, and it sounded like David Bowie to me.
Yeah,
it sounded a lot like David Bowie, and I was really shocked, right? And yeah, so how did this song come about? And it also has an odd time signature, which makes it slightly unsettling to listen to, but it's brilliant and it's very expressive. So can you elaborate on this song, please?
Yeah, it's like a riff-based song with a quite melancholic, melodic second part, and then returning to the riff. And between these forms and these kind of shades in the music, you have the talent of Christian Espedal, and we invited him, and he just momentarily kind of found his role in this landscape, quite visually, I feel, going like being a part, like a physical part of the song, as you say, starting with the dark, a breathing creature,
whispering,
waking and seeking more and more. And then the David Bowie reference is I would say also is very clear, especially from his more experimental, like the Outside album from David Bowie. And Christian as well, he was like, yeah, maybe this is kind of like a Bowie kind of I don't know the tolkning, the English word, interpretation.
Interpretation.
Yeah, interpretation. Yeah. So he was perfect.
Yes, I agree. Fantastic. Yeah, you also have another vocalist on the album, Lindy Faith from Vadrona. She's amazing. Yes, and she does like this witch thing, which is just fantastic. And she has this beautiful, very unique, clear voice that we're used to with Vadrona. And then she does this thing that the other day she posted something on Instagram where she's doing this witch vocals, and I was really impressed.
Her living room,
and she does that on your album too. It's
she does. It's on like on the Sabbath.
Yes.
Yeah, the witch Sabbath. No. Actually, both Lindify and Christian came to the studio at the same time, or in the same sessions. So they were like taking turns going in. What can I do now? Okay, I have an idea. I'll do this. Yeah. So they're really a big part of the end product of this album.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Extremely extreme talents in both their ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really glad they joined us for this project.
Yeah. And now let's talk about your instrument, the cello. So the use of the cello in Drott, from like the pizzicato until Stein, right? So the very classical sounding closing track, not, is one of the elements that make your sound so unique. So how do you construct melodies around the cello? And because, as I said before, it has a rich sound, but it's very it's deep and sweet, and together with the electric guitar, which it could easily take over, but it doesn't. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So please
Yeah,
elaborate.
but Arve and I are really focused on trying to make both instruments intertwine and change roles and like participate in each other's. It's arranged. A lot of it is kind of a lot of it is improvised and but then kind of improv arranged. That's the way we play together, you know, when we just experiment playing together. And the cello, like when we started playing, I took the bass role. I have an octave pedal on the cello, so doing the bass. And then the drummer said, yeah, I really like the way our my drums and your bass goes together, and but you can play cello as well. So every time I use the bow, I play cello, and every time I kind of play the pizzicato, I'm the bass player. So the ending track on the album, the Iron Curtain, what's the name? Not.
Yeah.
That's actually just in one of our rehearsals, just doing a jam alone. When probably Arve and Ivar were having a cigarette and using one of my pedals like as a loop pedal, just doing track and recording and improvising. So it's quite random, actually.
Really? It sounds like, you know, when I was listening to it, it was like a bit of Rimsky-Korsakov in your album. It was like, you know, it's really, really cool. Yeah. You know that because last week I went to a concert and they played Chaoszine, and I was like, it reminded me of that because I got the promo for this album right after I went to that concert. And when I was listening to it and I heard this, I like to listen to the whole album at once, you know, because I'm old school.
He was Korsakov. He was the teacher. He was the teacher of Stravinsky.
Yeah.
In arranging, wasn't he?
I think he was
my favorite arranger. One of my favorite composers, of course. Both Korsakov and Stravinsky. But yeah, I kind of feel it has also a sort of like a French vibe to it. With
yes, but exactly
like a sort of a dark but not cold, more like a mild night, melancholic.
Yes, it's like this whole album is really, really dark, but in the end there's some hope, even though it's the night. It's the night, but it's a new night. It's like a new beginning. It's like it begins with a very dark and somber night, and then it goes through all this development. And in the end, you have this sort of almost like Verklärte Nacht from Schoenberg, you know, like in the end of Verklärte Nacht, because Verklärte Nacht is a mirror for this album. I'm going crazy with the classical music here, but it starts with a very dark thing.
Can relate.
It starts dark, but it ends in hope. Also in the night, in the moonlight, and blah blah blah. But it ends in hope, and that's a mirror for what you guys did, except in a completely different style, in a completely different age. And it's brilliant with all the riffing and the heaviness that you guys.
We talked about it when kind of we have all these tracks and you want to combine them in the right order to make the story or the concept, like the word is gone for me now. Like the narrative in the album to have the right energy, and we wanted the end to be a bit lonely.
Yeah, it is.
Loneliness is a lot of the like conceptual energy and all through the album, but we feel it's quite clearly defined in the two ending tracks, the Grotten and not grotten means the cave.
Yeah, the place where the trolls inhabit, right?
Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, I read about it, but I don't know.
It's like a cave, like a bit up above the city and like in the forest, but you can still feel the energy from the modern world, but
yeah,
it fades away.
slightly removed from civilization, but still close enough, right?
It's close enough, yeah.
Yeah. So, and what about playing live as Drott? Have you guys done it already, or do you
No, we
intend to
haven't.
do
We have
it?
never played live, but we are going to play shows now, and
Oh.
we will start in Bergen with a release concert, and then we'll see what happens.
And how are you guys going to do that? Because it's just three of you. I know that's how the music was conceived at first, as you just said, but what we have on the album is layers and layers and layers and layers. And you guys are all very good musicians, and I don't see you as the backing track user kind of musician.
No backing tracks.
Yeah, no backing tracks. Exactly. You guys are too good for that. How's that going to go?
Yeah, we started now. We're in quite a good flow, and so we are already doing like working through. Well, maybe not the final set list, but something like it, and we were quite not anxious, but curious of how it was all gonna work out when we started like rehearsing actually for like performing a live show. And but what we have realized is that because of the way we do the writing and recording sessions as a trio, we have okay, we have to work a little bit, but doing it live, but we're capable of presenting quite similar versions as a trio live. So
that's great. I would like to see that.
And that's fun as well.
Yeah. Part of playing music is making it work is part of the fun of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Certainly. Yeah. So I like to thank you very, very much for this interview, Matias. You've been amazing. Yes, and so I wish you all the best for your future and
Thank you.
a lot of fun with your music as well, because that's also very important. Right.
Now we'll start recording our next album quite soon.
Ooh, yeah, I want to hear that too. Okay, thanks so much. Goodbye.
Bye bye.